World 200-meter champion Shericka Jackson is expecting blistering times next season once she stays fit. Jackson took a break from the rigors of training to give back to her community in Shaw Park Heights in St. Anne over the Christmas period. Jackson, who is the fastest living woman over 200 meters, says extra care has been going into her having an injury-free season.
Otherwise, for me right now is just to stay healthy, and I said this last year, once I'm healthy, then I'll run super fast. So for now, coach and I are focusing on getting things properly done in terms of technique, where I am right now. So we're just focusing on the small things that need to be fixed.
The 28-year-old, who only recently began competing regularly in the short sprints, is optimistic about what she can achieve in the two shortest sprints come next season.
For me, I just start running the 1-2, and I am pretty excited to see how fast I can go, and I'm pretty sure coach is too. So for right now, I think probably I'm just getting started when it comes on to the sprinting events.
Jackson was having her first ever Christmas treat, to which she wants to make an annual event and is hoping that others will emulate what she's doing.
Came about when I think when I was in Europe, I wanted to do something for my community because I've never done something for this community specifically. I did for my mother community, so I wanted to do something good for my community to keep my first street, and here we are today.
Now, General Manager of the SDF, Denzel Wilkes, is of the view that Jamaica needs to develop an ethos for research in order to have a balancing act in providing greater support for athletes in a holistic manner. Denise Walters has this TVJ Sports follow-up.
General Manager of the SDF, Denzel Wilkes, who was responding recently to findings of an SDF commissioned and funded research, says it's important that it was done even if the results are seen as predictable.
Well, the fact is that research has now been done, and we can justify some of the things that we all may have thought that was the case. As we look at the outcomes, we are beginning to formulate ideas. The psychological support is a big one, and that takes much more than money.
However, Wilkes says the SDF will have to be very careful not to ostracize others when coming up with a plan on the way forward.
Interestingly, also, one wants to contemplate, is it okay or is it not okay to develop a feeling that the Olympian is different from the high performer at other events? One doesn't want to create a situation of elitism where that is concerned, and those are the things that we are contemplating. And the fact that this is first in terms of commissioning this kind of study, we have to tread very carefully.
Dr. Olivia Rose, who conducted the research, agrees.
Because this focused only on track and field Olympians, of course, greater research and more research for different types of athletes who compete in different types of sports and the different top events that they will compete in and how it impacts them when they return to Jamaica, with or without the trophy, with or without a medal, is going to be very important for us to examine.
Dr. Rose adds that the research came out of a conversation she had with an Olympian, and she sent a proposal to the SDF, which in turn agreed to partially fund it.
I am encouraging other persons who are research-minded to, of course, following the necessary guidelines and protocol, to submit to the Sports Development Foundation, because if it is considered meaningful and worth researching, you will be sponsored, at least in part.
Wilkes says more research is needed, and he's calling on the private sector to help fund some of the research work so that they can respond to critical challenges and enhance the assets that are already there.
They have benefits to gain, and we also need funding because our funding is so limited. So these are some of the things that we have to contemplate as we try to determine how do we reward and how do we prepare and how do we ensure that in the aftermath we don't get what we could call the tumbling down.
Denise Walters for TVJ Sports.
No, very